What is a blessing and what does it mean to go in grace or to be with grace? Hello, this is Angelscapes and I'm your host, Nancy Smith. And in this episode, we're going to talk about being in the grace, being in that power of grace and what that means and what it does for you when you are in grace.
Welcome to the Angelscapes podcast, where you're encouraged to uncover and develop a direct connection with your soul's power, wisdom, and spiritual intuition that is ready to blossom. We'll explore new ideas, compelling tips, and real steps to help you learn simple spiritual practices. We're a safe place to learn more about accessing your soul's power with education and spiritual wholeness that could bring more clarity to your life. Now here's your host, a practicing medium, Akashic Records practitioner, spirit artist, coach, and mentor, Dr. Reverend Nancy Smith.
So a definition that I came up with, spirit is grace is the power from source when we connect with our souls. Our soul is our direct connection to source, to all that is the energy of divine creator love. And when we are in that source and we are in relationship with it and we are acting from it, it fuels us with a tremendous amount of power. It's one of our soul languages. It's one of our soul's gifts. How do you know when you're in grace? And somebody asked me that. That's the whole reason for doing this episode in particular, because a couple of people came to me and said, what does it mean being in grace? What is grace really? When somebody says, I give you God's blessings, what is that? So how do you know that you're in grace? Let's start there. When you have a sense of calm and well-being is when you know you're in grace. New ideas show up in your awareness, something that you have been thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about. And when you step back and ask your intuition, ask your soul to bring you an answer, to bring you wisdom as you go along with your day, since you made that request, you stepped into grace, and a new idea will come, or a new thought, or a new feeling. Our emotions can sometimes talk to us about being in grace, but mostly our emotions, and we've talked about this before, our energy's in motion and they're giving us messages. They're telling us don't step in front of that car, or you ate too much sugar today, or you have an unfinished business in this relationship that you need to touch base with. But it's the grace that helps us understand what the message of the emotions are giving to us. So emotions don't necessarily bring us new ideas. It's when we reach out from those emotions to our soul, to our intuition, and to spirit that we start to come up with really different kinds of thinking. We get out of our belief structures, we get out of our perceptions, and we start coming up with, hey, how about this idea? When we're in grace, our worries move to the background, and we're in that split place of creativity, of envisionment, of and when we're in that place of creativity and let's try a new idea, the worries go in the back. And because we're full of invigorating, what I call inspiration, breathe in is inspiration. In spirit, breathe out and connect more deeply into spirit. How do you know when you're in grace? When you're able to be kinder, you're able to listen more, you are inclined to be helpful. When we're in grace, we feel full and we have a sense of there's enough in life, so we can be generous from that place. When we're feeling scarce, when we're feeling like, oh, this isn't enough, or this isn't going to go well, we go to a place of scarcity, and we are not generous with ourselves. We're not generous with other people. We can't be. Maslow's law of hierarchy is telling us you're not safe. Keep it all to yourself. So when you find yourself collecting a lot of things and not being able to let them go, you are not in grace. You are not in that place where God said, think of the lilies of the valley, think of the birds of the air, where they are fed, they are cared for, and they are beautiful. That's grace. Now, I'm not saying quit your job and stay in grace. That's not what grace is all about. You're in grace where you are your best self, where you are coming forward with your gifts shining brightly as best they can. And what does grace give you when you go into grace? And we're going to talk about going into grace in just a moment. Grace gives you confidence in life. Grace gives you direction, and grace helps you to focus. Grace is, since it's coming from source, since it's coming from infinite intelligence, love, and like unconditional love, grace is the energy of creativity. It'll give you that energy, or that I want to really move into this new idea, and I can do it, and I want to do it. And grace gives you courage to step into that new idea, to try that new idea. So what does a grace-filled life look like? What does it feel like? When a person is living from grace, you might notice that they're kind of an out-of-the-box kind of person. They're thinking about unique ideas. They're not matching what you think. So if somebody's not matching what you think, maybe step back and say, is there something that's being given to me here? Is there a new idea being given to me from another source? Even though it's another person, people can bring us grace. When a person is living in grace, they probably have an unusual point of view in a positive way. You may find yourself with an unusual point of view when you move into that faith. There's a little bit of faith mixed up with grace. And there's a calmer outlook that comes as you observe somebody who is living in grace. They're calmer. They could have a tornado or hurricane around them, but as they stay in grace and they're calmer, they're making clear decisions and choices. They're seeing things as they really are, and they're moving forward in a very creative way. A person in grace is observant. And you may see sometimes our focus can be so hyper-focused that we can't see that the river is overflowing upstream. But a person in grace is connected to all that's around them from a 360-degree angle, and they may hear more quickly from their soul. The river is overflowing upstream, move quickly. Do you see what I'm saying? So when we're over-focused and not paying attention to what's around us, we don't have a sense of how life is really flowing. And we can build up a lot of incredible worries that are not connected to what's really going on, or we can be oblivious when we need to be aware. So grace gives us awareness, and also self-confidence that what we are seeing, what we are knowing is true to us. It gives us the experience of knowing who we are, and with that comes confidence. When one loves oneself, it's easier to love one another. So grace gives us the ability to be loving and caring, but grace also is giving ourselves love, giving ourselves care, giving ourselves that self-love that gives us the courage to step into the grace of God. Living life with a lighter touch is a sign of being in grace. There's the blame and the shame and the control and the need to have things in order are not around us as much. And there's plenty of new ideas going on with this, and a sense of being in life instead of a sense of self-importance, a sense of meaning, living in purpose, but not consumed with that purpose, and not becoming so self-important that your ideas and what you need to do and your focus becomes paramount above everybody else's well-being. Grace doesn't do that. Grace brings you into, I'm connected to source. I'm connected to what's going on. I have a purpose. All is well. Grace also gives you the ability to have acceptance for where you are in your life. If you see somebody who you would never walk that path, or that would never be you, but you see that they're calm and they're in grace. They've accepted where they are, not from a defeatist point of view, but they've surrendered because they know that with that power of grace is coming, something bigger is coming down the road for you. So accepting where you are in life, no matter where you are, and seeing I am just in the right place in the right time, and I am being guided with grace, is a sign of being in grace. So the many ways that you can connect to grace and soul and source are countless. There are as many as there, and they're very individual to each person. So every person has like 10 million ways of connecting to grace times every single person that's around. If you follow my drift, there's many ways to connect to your soul. I talk about connecting to your soul through your creativity, through your intuition, and through your breath, inspiration. Um, and one way to work with connecting to that grace, connecting to that intuition, which takes you to your soul, is taking a moment to be still and having a practice of taking a moment to be still regularly, a couple times a day, even. Sometimes I need to be still 10 times a day if I have a particularly difficult day. There's a saying, or a little story that somebody was asking their master, how long do I meditate? They said an hour a day. He goes, oh, that's so much. Well, if you're really busy, he says, then 2 hours a day. And I love that answer, because the more that we're distracted with our busyness and our worriedness and our outside focus, the further away we get away, the further we move away from grace, the further we move away from our souls, because we're self-important rather than being focused with soul and higher power coming in to guide us. So take a moment, step away from the struggle, and simply be present, breathe. And sometimes being present and breathing doesn't bring you a big aha moment. Sometimes it just brings you, your body relaxes. And when our body relaxes and it gives our body a break, we can start to feel how our body feels. And a lot of times, grace and intuition comes through our body language. How life is really treating you, how you really feel about this comes through our body language, um, which says you're okay. Or we're telling our bodies, this is a worry, this is a problem. And your body gets so pepped up that it actually adds to the worry. You get into a fight or flight and you're no longer thinking creatively. So let's step away from the struggle and breathe and ask for your intuition to connect to your soul, which brings you the grace. Breathing in and breathing out, and find that divine spark within you. We all have that divine spark. We all lose that idea or that connection to that divine spark. And then we think it's gone. And then we think life's not worth living and everything is horrible. Take a breath and connect to that divine spark of who you really are in a very precious moment. And meditation can bring you to that. There's lots of ways to meditate. Often people, like I said, the student that asks the master, how long do I meditate? I don't have time for an hour. There's many ways to meditate. Becoming mindful. You can meditate through washing the kitchen floor or doing different chores around the house. You can meditate through just going for a walk. You can meditate. Meditation isn't about taking you out of your life. Meditation is about bringing you into the flow, the breath of life. So you can do that in many, many different ways. So calming the mind and just being aware of what you're doing and how you feel how are you feeling as you're doing this? What else is coming to you in your intuition, in your creativity, in your imagination? Let yourself daydream for a little bit. And then what are the messages that your daydreams are giving you? Gratitude practice is very important. To create a gratitude practice, I am grateful for these simple things in my life, and these simple things in my life are bringing me peace. They're bringing me well-being. And as you move through those simple things and you're grateful for them, you're telling your mind, you're retraining your mind and your awareness, find more of these things. If you're sitting and worrying about something and being unhappy the way things work, you're telling your mind, pay attention to how this is making me unhappy, and we need to fix all these things. So that you shift from peacefulness and acceptance to control and anger and frustration. Asking for a connection to your soul and your higher self is a brilliant way of connecting to grace, to connecting to your soul. Remember, grace is coming through your soul from God, from the Archangel Metatron, from Archangel Michael, Raphael. All the angels are there ready to open up the funnel of grace, but we got to open up the funnel so that they can put it in actually. Self-love and awareness building is a perfect way also of bringing grace into your life. You can be aware of, you know what, this particular behavior that I've been doing with my family for forever isn't working for me. And that could be a moment of grace. Asking for a connection to your soul and your higher self will invite your mind to go look for a new way of thinking, a new way of connecting, find that flow. Listen, observe, and look for synchronicities in life that speak to you. Can be another way of reaching a creative idea, or another way of being. Observe and look for those synchronicities that speak to you, that say, oh my gosh, yes, that's it. There's something there to that, or somebody will come up and say something to you, and it'll just spark an awareness that you hadn't had before. Maybe it's answering a question that you already had asked Spirit, oh, please, guide me through this, and then synchronicity or event will happen that will speak to you. Um, Building your intuition is really important in your life, especially connecting to your soul and finding that grace. Intuition is something that a lot of people think they don't have, but it's simply about being quiet and what do I see? What do I feel? What do I sense? That's my experience, not the experience that I'm being told about. That builds your intuition. And praying will build your connection as well. That praying is simply asking for connection. Um, Step into nature and fill your senses with the natural flow of things, especially if it's really, really cold. You just want to stay in, step into that coldness and feel how that feels and move around in it and let yourself get warm in the midst of coldness. And that is a beautiful way of building the flow, getting that blood flowing. Take small risks, get an intuitive hit, follow it through, take a small risk. And that small risk will lead you into an understanding of something or a realization or take you out of the same old, same old. And the intuition that you are looking for to receive starts to happen because you're not in your comfortable space anymore. You're not thinking of the same things. So this is about stepping into grace. I'll tell you a story um, that I love, is a Christmas story. My partner, we just moved, and this Christmas season, um, and we have been working our butts off. We've been exhausted, and lots of trips to Home Depot, you can imagine. So my partner was taking a lot of trips to Home Depot and all of the grocery store and all of the things to get our house, to unpack and get our house ready for us and all the things that we need to do to make the house your home that's just for you. And so as he was doing that, he was running into an elderly gentleman with a walker, and he felt that the gentleman was begging. He didn't have a hat on, he didn't have a sign out, but he was kind of standing there hoping somebody would give him some money, so Mike would give him 20 bucks. And every time he came by that man, and there were a lot of trips to Home Depot in the week before Christmas, he would give him a $20 bill. And then the final time, it was really cold. We had just a cold snap, and he drove up to this fellow. Wait, he's on a kind of crossroads, and he was on a walker, so it took him a little time to get to Mike. And the light changed, and the people behind him were beeping their horns and waving their arms and saying, "We gotta hurry, we gotta go." Maybe they couldn't see this older gentleman trying to walk up to the truck, so he got up to the truck. He got his $20 bill, and he looked at my partner and he said, "God bless you." And there was an exchange that happened that was so new to my partner that he was just touched, and he said, "Well, God bless you too," and rolled up the window and, went on his way. Lots of people honking, get going with this green light, came home, and his eyes were filled with tears. He was just moved. We couldn't do anything for about an hour as he just all these things ran through his head. That blessing was the only thing that gentleman could give him, but it was the best thing that gentleman could give him. And I felt that he was moved because it was God speaking right through that gentleman. Bless you. There's been a connection. There's been love. And Mike kind of looked at all the different things that he had done to help people throughout his life and how that had meaning for those people that he helped. And he came to understand, as I was listening to him, I also was validated that we are the miracles in life. We are the ones that help this grace move forward. We are the ones that make all the difference in the world for each other. So when you're looking for grace, look within and have that creativity or have that abundance, that sharing come out, and the grace will fill you up. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about in this really quick moment, to really e- encourage you to find the grace within your life by finding it within yourself, finding your inner spark, asking your intuition and your spirit to show you your soul's power and source's power of grace so that you can live in the abundance and the flow of life, and you can feel that you are in the abundance and the flow of life, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. And when you're in that abundance, you change the world. So for now, that's what I have for now. So stay in grace, stay in love, and practice. What does grace give you? How do I understand grace in my life? And see what happens. So thanks for coming on and listening to me in this podcast, and go out and make your grace. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining the Angelscapes podcast. We hope you've gained new insights and inspiration for your journey to uncover and access your soul's power. For more information and a deeper dive into finding clarity in your life, go to angelscapes.com. Remember to subscribe so you can be part of the discussion. It may just change your life. See you next time.